All right, so the definition of philosophy. Let me first define philosophy etymologically. I hope you can see the screen fully and it's clear. The etymology of philosophy comes from two Greek words, philo and sophia. Philia, pwedeng yung philo, philia, other form, no? It means love. And then sophia meaning wisdom. Kaya nga, the translation of this will be love of wisdom. But for a philosopher, it's a different thing. Philosophy is not just simply the love of wisdom, but it talks about the one who searches for wisdom. Sakto sa Monday, it's Valentine's Day. Kapag in love ka, di ba, you seek for the hand of your beloved. You always want to be with your beloved. So we also talk about the lover of wisdom. So philosophy is not just simply the love of wisdom, but also the lover of wisdom, who is in constant search for that wisdom. Because that kind of attitude will definitely make us lovers of this wisdom that we want to behold. So lover of wisdom. We're talking about us being philosophers. However, the overarching definition of philosophy that I would like to imply will be this. Yan yung Latin na nakasulat sa inyong screen. Naturarum inquisitio rerum humanorum divinarum que cognitio quantum homine possibile est estimare. So, wala kahit sa bright space yung translation yan. So, I hope you are writing down notes. We will translate it isa-isa. Naturarum inquisitio. Lahat ng mga definition of philosophy later, this is the anchor. Naturarum inquisitio, which means investigation of nature. Investigation of nature. Inquisitio means investigation. Of course, naturarum, it's naturarum is nature. So, investigation of nature, rerum humanorum divinarum, of all things human and divine, humanorum divinarum, as is possible to man, que cognitio quantum homine possibile est estimare. Cognitio, which is possible to the intellect of man. Possible to man. Possible to the intellect of man. Investigation of nature and other such knowledge of things human and divine as is possible to the intellect of man. Cognitio quantum homine possibile est estimare. So this will be the overarching definition of philosophy. Allow me to repeat that again. Investigation of nature and such knowledge of things, human and divine, as is possible to man. Bakit possible to man? Later on, philosophers will say that, of course, we have our limitations. We have our limit when it comes to knowing the truth, objectively. We have that limit in beholding wisdom. So as is possible. And this also means that nothicioton, knowing the difference between us, human beings, and animals. Kasi we are enabling these possibilities, itong ating limitations, to search for the answers, to at least make our limitations little less than it was before. So this is the overarching definition of philosophy. Now, since this is a search, a continuous search for wisdom, it becomes the habit of the mind. Aristotle said that this is the habit of the mind. Ano ibig sabihin ng habit? In values education, we talk about habits. Pag kasi ang isang bagay, naging habit mo, it becomes part of your system. It becomes part of your lifestyle. Maybe this is the reason why Socrates is philosophy personified, simply because philosophy is part of his system. Whatever he does, wherever he goes, dala-dala niya sa philosophy. Hindi mo na kailangan sabihin. Hindi mo na kailangan i-schedule. For example, although a part ng habit, of course, yung umpisa magiging schedule mo yan, magiging unti-unti yung integration sa system. Parang pagtututbrush, diba? Tinrain tayo na 3 times a day. It becomes a habit. So your mother or your father don't need to remind you to brush your teeth. It becomes part of your system. The same thing goes with philosophy. By the way, philosophy cannot be taught. Even Socrates knows this. Philosophy cannot be taught. No teacher, no matter how great he or she is, can teach philosophy. Yes, we can teach the contents of philosophy, but the methods of philosophy lies on the uh, lies with the coordination of the or the uh, coordination of the student. Kasi it becomes a habit. Philosophy is acquired rather than taught. Philosophy is not taught, it is acquired. So while we are having this class, kaya sabi ko, di ba, the methods in philosophy are more important than the content. Kasi we try to articulate it through our reflections, through our philosophizing. So it becomes habit of the mind, it becomes unconscious. No matter what you do, nagiging part na yung pag-iisip, nagiging part ng philosophizing. Lalo ngayon, kailangan natin itong habit na ito, no? Madami ng manloloko sa paligid. Madami nagpapakalat ng fake news. Madami nagpapakalat ng false information. Madami nagpapakalat ng false facts. So we need to exercise this habit. We need to exercise our mind and form this habit para hindi tayo naloloko. Kasi without this habit of the mind, we cannot become critical thinkers. Makukontento na lang ba tayo sa kung anong sinasabi sa atin? Or we will also try to think. Kasi, the media and even the people around us conditions us to believe what is said to us. What was said to us, yun yung truth, without even examining it. So it must become a habit of our mind. And once it becomes the habit of our mind, we acquire knowledge. Kaya nga for Plato, philosophy is also thesis epistemis. It is the acquisition of knowledge. You acquire something because parang ito yung fruits or ito yung magiging consequence of philosophizing. You acquire something that you do not have before. You can change something that is wrong about what you think before. So this is acquisition of knowledge. And sabi nga natin, pinaka-tema, be better today than yesterday. And we can have that once we have this acquisition of knowledge. Kung kahapon, ganyan ka mag-isip. Kung kahapon, you do not even know what is happening around you, but because philosophy becomes a habit, you acquired something out of that habit, you change as well. Remember, true education can only be seen not in grades. True education can only be seen and can be manifested through behavior change. Pag nagkaroon ka ng behavior change because you applied what you have acquired, then education is successful. Grades are, although important, they are external manifestation that is also questionable because ito yung criteria, but it doesn't say anything about you as a person. It might give us clue, but the ultimate qualifier, the ultimate evidence that you really learned is behavior change. Now, the goal of philosophy, according to the previous definitions, will be certainty. Certainty. Of course, we all know the limitations. Even science may limitations. And we cannot really arrive at that absolute certainty. But this goal of certainty leads us closer to the absolute certainty. It leads us closer to the object of intellect, which is truth. With a capital T at that. It leads us closer. Kaya nga, that's philosophy. It only leads us closer. It will never lead us to that absolute truth, but it will lead us closer. And our movement should be closer. Our movement should be towards this certainty, this absolute truth that we are talking about. Yan ang goal at yan ang object of intellect of philosophy. next week na ito. Now, according to René Descartes, ayan, I hope René Descartes is familiar. Philosophy is cognitio veritatis per prima summa causa. Philosophy is the knowledge of truth in the first cause. Ano ibig sabihin ni Descartes dito ng first cause? And how can you arrive at the knowledge of truth in the first cause? I hope you're familiar with this tagline. I hope pwede ako magtawag dito. Asa na yun? Pagsulat. Are you familiar with cogito ergo sum?
If you enjoy the films on this channel, you might want to hear
cogito ergo sum. Familiar? Yan ang sabi ni Descartes, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. Now, the first cause for Descartes can only be known, can only be investigated through this motto of his. Tamang ito yung revolving life principle ni Descartes. This is the connecting philosophy of René Descartes. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. How can I arrive at the first cause? Descartes suggests that we can arrive at the first cause. Of course, that is through philosophy and by means of this method. Ito yung method ni René Descartes. Methodic doubt. Methodic doubt. Cartesian skepticism. Cartesian skepticism. But Descartes says, ito yung magiging evidence, if it is doubt, that is the one that can lead us to the first cause. Descartes says, what will be the evidence that, for example, sa cogito ergo sum niya, that I exist, that I am. I think, therefore I am. What can be the evidence that I think? That you are thinking? What can be the evidence that you are thinking? Anyone? How can you be sure that you are thinking? Dun muna, mamaya na si methodic doubt. How can you be sure that you are thinking? Kasi for Descartes, sabi niya, our body can be imagination. Our body can be a product of our dream. Everything that we can see around us can be an imagination, can be a product of our dream. Therefore, how can we be sure that we exist? How can we be sure that we are? That I am, for example? Of course, si doubt papasok. And how can you be sure that you are thinking in his cogito ergo sum? Thinking presupposes existence. But how can you be sure? How can you be certain that you are existing? And for Descartes, that is through doubt. I doubt. All the knowledge, all the things in this world, all that I can see, I doubt them. All the facts that are given to me, I doubt them. That's Cartesian skepticism. If you are given a basket full of apples, you do not presuppose that the apples in the box are fresh. You doubt first. And when you doubt, you will put all the apples out of that box and you will inspect them one by one and return only fresh apples in the box, discarding the rotten apples. The same thing goes. Everything that we gained from learning, from facts, everything that we can observe that seems to be questionable, for example, should be doubted. And there is this one thing, according to Descartes, that he cannot doubt. There is one thing, sabi niya, there is this one thing that I cannot doubt. Everything around me, I can doubt it. But there is this one thing that I cannot doubt. And this thing led him to the first cause. There is one thing that I cannot doubt. What do you think is it? Pwedeng sumagot sa chat box. Again, we are recording our session. Your recitation will rely dito sa mga sagot ninyo. Without which you will be zero for the entire quarter. Himself, existence. Any other answer? There is
Sir,
one.
can you repeat po the question? Sorry.
Sabi ni Descartes, there is one thing that I cannot doubt. I can doubt everything. I can doubt all the concepts and all the facts that are given to me. Na nakikita ko, for example, I can doubt that. But there is this one thing that I cannot doubt. And it led Descartes to this first cause. God, philosophy, knowledge. Hindi. What is this one thing that he cannot doubt? Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. What is this something that I cannot doubt that proves that I am thinking? Therefore, if I am thinking, I exist. I cannot doubt this. Because this is the evidence that I am thinking. If I am thinking, therefore I exist. For example, sabi pa nga niya, pag binasa niyo yung Meditations on First Philosophy, sabi niya, sige, sabihin na natin na hindi totoo yung body ko. Sabihin na natin na hindi totoo yung body ko. This is not true. Everything around me is not real. But what will prove that I exist? It is his thinking. He is thinking. But what proves that I am thinking? That one thing, yun yung hindi niya madadoubt. There is one thing that I cannot doubt. Therefore, I am thinking. Therefore, I exist. There is one thing that I cannot doubt. Mag-ingat tayo kasi minsan ang philosophy meron siyang tendency to play with words. There is one thing that I cannot doubt. Thank you, Jamela. Thank you, Jamela. His doubts. There is one thing that I cannot doubt according to Descartes, and that is I am doubting. If I am doubting, therefore I am thinking. If I am thinking, therefore I exist. Hindi man totoo yung body ko because I am doubting my body, but I cannot deny that I am doubting, therefore I am thinking my mind exists. I exist. That's according to Descartes. And that led him to arrive to the first cause. That's philosophizing. Nagmumuni-muni lang yan si Descartes, sa tabi ng kama niya, nagsusulat siya. Parang diary meditation. Remember, that's the importance of philosophical reflection. Even your notebooks are very important. Nagmumuni-muni lang siya about his existence. Ang dami niyang suggestions. Maaaring hindi totoo ito, phantasm lang ito, maaaring panaginip lang ito, maaaring devil lang may kagagawan kung bakit may nakikita akong mga bagay-bagay sa mundo, at nakikita ko yung katawan ko, for example. I am being fooled. But there is one thing that even the devil, sabi na, the demon, cannot have control over. And it is my mind. Because I am doubting. Therefore, I think. I think, therefore I exist. I think, therefore I am. I am means existence. Kaya nga sa Exodus, pag sinabi yung Yahweh, no? Pag sinabi ng Yahweh na I am, existence. It talks about existence. So that's the definition of philosophy for Descartes, according to his cogito ergo sum, the first cause. According to Emmanuel Kant, philosophy is the science of general principles of knowledge and the ultimate object attainable by reason and knowledge. Reason and knowledge, and I wanted to underline the word attainable. Because for Emmanuel Kant, there are two realities just like Plato's. May two realities. For Plato, it is kanina na-upload yung video, kung di kayo late, napanood nyo yun. For Plato, we have the world of forms and then the world of the senses. For Emmanuel Kant, the version of the world of forms, although different sila ng distinction and ng description. For Emmanuel Kant, it's the noumenon and then the phenomenon. Attainable by human reason. For Emmanuel Kant, what is attainable by human reason and knowledge is only the phenomenon. We cannot attain the noumenon. We cannot attain. Medyo negative dyan si Kant, although the criticism is we can. Only that we cannot behold it in its actuality. But for Emmanuel Kant, attainable by reason and knowledge, it is in the realm of phenomenon. Observable world. Now, according to Pinion, a Filipino philosophy professor and author, philosophy is defined, hindi ko siya kinikilalang Filipino philosopher. For now, there's only two known Filipino philosophers. Leonardo Mercado, who died recently, last year, and then Florentino Timbresa. Pinion, baka nasa panglima siya, panglima pa. Okay. Philosophy is defined, kasi pag binasa niyo yung work ni Leonardo Mercado, wala siyang direct definition for philosophy. Kaya hindi ko siya inadapt sa lesson na ito. Philosophy is defined as the science of all things in their ultimate cause. First cause, ultimate cause. Through the aid of human reason alone. Human reason alone. But I want you to underline there the words, all things. All things. Ano ibig sabihin ni Pinion when he says all things? This is the application now of naturarum inquisitio. Naturarum inquisitio. Investigation of nature. And when we say nature, naturarum, it speaks of everything that exists. Because this everything that exists are the material object of philosophy. Everything. Kaya nga philosophy is also called as the science or the study of everything. The study of everything. Even of those things that science cannot partake in studying. Those things that science cannot study. Philosophy is a science in the study of all things. And everything, all that exists, the nature itself, is the material object of philosophy. And tignan nyo paano nyo ginamit yung material objects. Everything that are seen and unseen. Technically, pag material object, those that are seen, those that are visible, those that are in their actuality. But since we are talking about philosophy, even the unseen, the invisible, and the potential, since they are in the level of the mind, their existence is in the level of the mind, they belong to the material object of philosophy. Kaya nga, even those that cannot be seen, for example, Thomas Aquinas, a quintessential philosopher of the scholastic age, of the medieval period, even the angels and the demons are subject to philosophy. Even God himself is a material object of philosophy. Pwede siyang i-philosophize. Ghost, perhaps? But hindi lang yan na pinag-uusapan natin. Teka lang, nalulobat na laptop ko. But even concepts that are intangible, concepts that cannot be seen, that cannot be touched. Kagaya na sinabi natin last week, justice, mercy, kindness, compassion, values, virtues. These are morals. These are things that are not seen. They manifest through actions, but in their essence, we cannot see them. These are the material. Kaya nga sa philosophy, meron din tinatawag na ethics or philosophical morality, philosophical morals or philosophical morality. Meron tayo tinatawag na ganyan. Kasi these are things that cannot be seen, but they are objects, material objects of philosophy. So, science, study of all things, naturarum inquisitio. That's according to Pinion. Now, that's a definition of philosophy. Now we move to the branches of philosophy. Since they are termed branches, they are not a separate entity. For example, science and philosophy, before René Descartes, isa lang sila. Kaya pag binasa niyo si Newton na ang huling scientist na pwedeng tawaging philosopher. Of course, ngayon may mga contemporary philosophers na scientist din at mathematician. Pero what I mean here as a discipline, kasi during that time, prior to Descartes, science is under philosophy. all other sciences. Kaya nga philosophy is also known as the mother of all sciences. Kahit social science, naka-anchor yan kay philosophy. Kaya nga ngayon ko lang na-experience, at ngayon ko lang natinig, ang philosophy ay under ng social sciences. Hindi dapat. It should not be the case. Because the foundation of social sciences is philosophy. And it's not the other way around. Philosophy should be taught not in the methods of social sciences, but in the method of philosophy itself. Kapag sineparate mong ganun yan, hindi na sila branches. When we talk about branches of philosophy here, we talk about a single body with different parts. Kaya nga ang philosopher, yung totoong philosopher, even some professional, kagaya namin mga professional prostitute, for example, yan ang term ni Socrates sa mga professors, sa mga professional na nag-aral ng philosophy, for example, mga intellectual prostitute. Kasi nagpapabayad kami sa service namin. Socrates, hindi. Alright, so, naka-record ako, huwag na lang panood nila. But that's the term of Socrates. Okay. Ang isang philosopher, meron siyang, ang isang philosopher, mapupunuan niya itong lahat ng branches na ito. Ibig sabihin, yung philosophy niya, since philosophy merong branches, yung philosophy ng philosopher, meron ding branches. The philosophy of Socrates or of Plato, kasi wala naman sinulat sa Socrates, so we will refer to Plato. The philosophy of Plato, meron siyang logic, yun yung foundation. Meron siyang metaphysics. Meron siyang epistemology. Meron siyang theodicy. Meron siyang, although wala siyang cosmology, kasi that's not the concern anymore of Socrates or of Plato. Pero yun yung ibig kong sabihin, kompleto. Even René Descartes, even the next philosophers, medyo questionable lang for me will be Karl Marx and his disciples, mga materialist. Kasi itong mga materialist na ito, they are removing metaphysics from the study, from the branch. They are cutting the branch of metaphysics. So we talk about the branches. Number one, the fundamental or the core will be logic. Logic. Ayan. So, kahit sa seminary, isang semester lang namin itong inaral, itong logic na ito. Napakahirap. Hindi, ang application, sabi ko sa inyo, this is not learned, this is acquired. How I acquired logic is more important than the content of the logic. Nagagamit ko siya kasi I am more of a writer rather than a speaker. My strength actually is in writing, not in speaking. Mas na-apply ko siya in my essays, in my reflection. How to be logical, how to be precise in the words that I am using, in the flow of the thought. Kaya nga mapapansin nyo, yun yung madalas kong comment kapag the last sem hindi ko na-comment yan masyado kasi para-pareho ng sagot yung nababasa ko. Pero kung hindi, the flow of thought, consistent pa. Yung major premise niya ba, yung parts, yung major premise niya, yung subject ba, yung predicate, are they consistent? Are they valid? And so as the minor premise, is the conclusion contradicting the major premise or the minor premise? Yun yung mga applications ng logic. Because logic is the language of philosophy. If in science, in hard sciences, mathematics is the language. In philosophy, it's logic. Kaya nga, kung mahina sa math, minsan mahina rin sa logic. Kasi same concept si logic at si mathematics. The art and science of correct thinking. Aristotle, hindi man siya yung talaga nag-umpisa ng logic, but Aristotle paved the way to the methods in logic. According to Aristotle, every such sentence must have the same structure, grammar, structure. It must contain a subject, hypokeimenon, and a predicate, and must either affirm or deny the predicate of the subject. Kaya nga, every assertion is either the affirmation, cataphasis, or the denial, apophasis, of a single predicate of a single subject for it to be able to be valid. Okay? Although we will not go too much on logic kasi separate subject ito. An entire semester is needed for us to be able to grasp every concepts of logic. Consistency, accuracy, certainty, these are the qualities of logic. Kaya nga siya yung core. The second one will be cosmology. In informal philosophy, it's no longer included. Kaya lang nilagay ko lang siya dito kasi even as we do not have this subject, nilagay ko lang siya dito kasi to pay respect dito sa cosmology. Bakit kaya? Kasi cosmology paved the way not just to science but also to philosophy. Socrates technically is not the first philosopher. He is the first formal philosopher, but he is not the first philosopher. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na pre-Socratics. In history of philosophy, meron pre-Socratics. And yung mga pre-Socratics, they are natural thinkers. But their main concern is not just it's not like the concern of Socrates. The concern of Socrates is more inclined to morality. Ang concern ng mga natural sciences, what reality is made of? That's their big question. What is our earth stuff? What makes reality? Anong ingredient ng reality? So nga, tignan ko nga sa chat. Pag kayo ang tinanong ko ngayon, suppose you were natural thinkers. Let me repeat that. Natural thinkers. Meaning the basis of your answer must be in nature. If I am going to ask you what reality is made of, what will be your answer? What reality is made of? What will be your answer? Ayan, sige, mag-chat. Society? Any other answer? What reality is made of? I mean reality. All that I can see and touch. What is reality made of? Reality, light, structure. Reality is made of simply the interaction of, atoms for Jefferson. Material things. The closest sa mga natural thinkers will be atoms. O, tignan nyo to ha. What reality is made of? Pag tinanong nila yung what reality is made of, what we are all made of. What is our ingredient? How come there are sun, there are moon, there are stars, there are planets? Remember, there are cosmologists. They view heavens, not just the earth. Are we the same? Is our body the same constituent as the moon, as the sun, as the stars? That's their question, because everything that they can see, it's reality. That's reality. So what is this reality made of? And one of the pre-Socratics will be Democritus. Of course, you know Democritus. Lagi siya nasa science textbook. The one who coined the word atoms. Although may nauna pa sa kanya, no? For example, Thales says, reality is made up of water. Natural philosopher. Nakita ko water. Pinagpapawisan ako, nauuhaw ako, umiihi ako. Everything is made of water. And then, of course, hindi man nila to alam. Pero sa days natin, we all know that how many % of our body is made up of water. So ganyan mag-isip ang mga cosmologists, ang mga natural thinkers. For Democritus, it's atom. By the way, ilang libong taon nag-prevail ang model ni Democritus ng atom prior to the discovery of the subatomic particles. So bago pa sila mga pangalan nila, si Ernest Rutherford, bago pa yan sila si J.J. Thomson, bago pa yan sila, yung model ni Democritus ng atom ang sinusunod ng science. So doon nagmula. For Democritus, everything is made up of this indivisible tiny substance called atom, atomos, because you cannot cut it. So that's cosmology. So thank you for your answers. Ayan. Minsan di mo akalain yung sagot nila eh, no? Pagka nagtanong. So next will be metaphysics. Ayan. This is one of my subjects na nagpadugo ng ilong ko sa pag-aaral, literally. No? Dahil sa hirap ng mga terms, sa hirap ng mga concepts. Metaphysics, metaphysica. Accidental ang pagkakapangalan dito. Ano? Aristotle, ayan si Aristotle, yung cartoon, wrote a book titled Physics, Physicos, Nature, on Nature. And then he wrote a second one, the second volume. Kaya lang, of course, siguro dahil Physicos din ang title, hindi na lang nilagyan, hindi niya nilagyan. Nung hundreds of years after Aristotle, and his works are now being translated, by the way, thanks to the Islamic Muslim philosophers na na-translate ang works ni Aristotle. Kaya nakarating kay Thomas Aquinas yung mga works ni Aristotle. By the way, Aquinas is an Aristotelian. So kaya nakarating sa kanya thanks to these Islamic philosophers who translated it into Arabic and into Latin. Now, kasi Greek yung original text. Na yung ita-translate yung second book, the translator put the title Metaphysica. And the Greek word is physica. Metaphysica, meaning after physics. Physics is the book one. The second one is after physics. Metaphysica. Accidental. Kaya nga, yung content ng Metaphysica na book, naging part siya itong isang field, isang branch ng philosophy that talks about not just the physical things that can be seen, but also something that we cannot articulate physically. For example, being, existence, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. In the context of Aristotle, these are metaphysics. This branch of philosophy deals with the first principle of things. And we talk about abstract concepts. 4 weeks from now, when we talk about the human person as an embodied spirit, this topic is highly metaphysical because we will talk about the soul. We will talk about the mind. Soul for Plato, mind for Descartes. We will talk about that. Kapag ba namatay tayo, ang soul ba ay nabubuhay pa o namamatay din kasama natin? That's some things that we will talk about in that topic. At ang soul ba kaya mag-occupy, for example, dalawang soul ba kaya mag-occupy ng isang body? Yung mga questions ng embodied spirit. Kaya nga nung nakita ko yung commercial ng Caramia before, I hope you can still remember. Yung dalawang muka, dalawang soul. It presupposes 2 souls. Ako agad, ang naiisip ko agad ay, anong sasabihin dito pag nakita ito ni Aristotle at ni Plato? At ni René Descartes. So I started philosophizing about it. So that's metaphysics. Next will be epistemology. Epistemologia, theory of knowledge. Now, to explain this, I want you to look at the picture at my back. Ayan, yung nasa likod ko na picture. Ang pinangmulan niyan ay itong malaking painting na ito. Tayo gumana. Nawala tayo. Anyway, let's continue. Kaya nangyari, biglang nawala si Zoom. Okay, we are talking about epistemology. And I ask you, I hope you can hear me now. I ask you to view the picture behind me. Ayan. Okay. Ang pinagmulan niya na painting ay ito. This is a painting made by Raphael. an Italian painter, and it's called the School of Athens. Ito ay mga philosophers. Kaya lang, ang nag-stand out sa kanilang lahat ay yung nasa gitna. Rightly so, even the contemporary philosophers will footnote these two, particularly Plato. Ayan, so balik tayo sa nakakrop. The one in red, this is Plato. The one in blue, Aristotle. Now, the books that they are holding, of course, that's their symbol. For Plato, that's the Republic. For Aristotle, that's politics. Now, I want you to focus, in terms of epistemology, I want you to focus on their gestures. The hand gesture of Plato and the hand gesture of Aristotle. Saan nakapoint ang kamay ni Plato? Taas. Yung kay Aristotle, medyo hindi mo po ma-distinguish. Pero si Plato, nakataas, nakapoint. It points up. For Aristotle, it's pointing down. Down. It has something to do with their epistemology, with their theory of knowledge. And since knowledge is also contained in metaphysics, their gesture has something to do also with their metaphysics. Let me explain. For Plato, meron siyang two reality. Reality for Plato is in the world of forms. Sa cave, remember the cave? Nung nakalabas sa cave, that's the world of forms. I can definitely see the reality. Pag nasa cave ka, that's the world of the senses. I can only see phantasm, shadows. The perfect form is in the world of forms. Two reality. The soul for Plato comes from the world of forms. And because the soul is condemned, according to Plato, the soul is sent to a body. It is sent to a body. And once it is sent to the body, it forgets everything. Meron siyang prior knowledge. Kaya nga for Plato, he is pointing up. He is talking about his metaphysics as well as his epistemology. Merong prior knowledge. Hence, the epistemology, the theory of knowledge of Plato is idealism. Lahat ng tao, bago pa ipinanganak, meron na siyang prior knowledge. Nalimutan lang ni soul. Kaya nga philosophy is also the art of remembering. The art of remembering. Para maalala niya yung nakalimutan niya bago siya nagkaroon ng katawan. It's because of the senses, that's why he forgets everything. For Aristotle, sabi niya kay Plato, na teacher niya, no Plato. Reality is not in the world of forms. Reality is here and now, together. Body and soul, for example. So, according to Aristotle, there is no prior knowledge. We are tabula rasa. That's according to modern psychology. Tabula rasa, blank slate. Wala tayong laman. According to Aristotle, it is our experience that makes us gain knowledge. For Plato, you don't need to feel the fire to know that it's hot. For Aristotle, teka lang, baka yung kettle yung mainit. Sometimes accidentally you can touch it and you will know that it is hot. It will be a lesson for you not to touch it again the next time. Experience is knowledge. That's empiricism for Aristotle. So that's their epistemology. Idealism, empiricism. Lahat na magiging philosophers after them will anchor their epistemology to these two. Either fully idealism, fully empiricism, or a mere combination of both. Ayan. So that's epistemology. Medyo nakaka-nosebleed din yan na subject. And lastly, theodicy. Since everything is the material object of philosophy, even God, kaya nga may theodicy. Theodicy is different from theology. Theology, ang basis ay faith, revelation. Theodicy, it's pure reason. Now, we keep on talking about pure reason. Pure philosophy is all about pure reason. Kaya lang may isang philosopher, sabi niya, teka lang, dito magpo-pause tayo saglit. Teka lang. Pure reason ba talaga? Parang may mali. That's Blaise Pascal. We hear of reason, we hear of pure reason. But Blaise Pascal reminds us, the heart has reason which reason does not know. The heart has reason which reason does not know. And this is one of the partners of philosophy, according to Blaise Pascal. I will now type the Google form in the chat box. I want you to open it. It will be your written work, but ang deadline yan ay mamaya pang 12. I-extend ko yung sa inyo kasi medyo na-delay yung lesson ko dahil sa nawala tayo kanina. So the deadline of that will be 12 noon. Ayan, so meron ditong 44 participants. So I'm expecting 44 answer. I hope I'm heard clearly. Sige nga, may raise hand button ba dito? Can you raise your hand if it's clear? And if you can open the Google form. Ayan, hanggang 12. Hindi ko kayo ma-mark na late. Alright? Sige, dapat 44 din na mag-raise ng hand. 7 pa lang ito. Ayan. To make sure that you really listen to what I said. Kasi patapos na tayo, no? Okay. So, yun yung sagot nyo. No? Hindi ko sagutin yun, but that's your answer. Now, let's define the human person. Human person defined. And as I said earlier, isa-separate natin si human at si person. Okay, kung kayo ay nag-topic sa debate ninyo na yung fetus ba, yung clone ba ay human person, I am talking about human and personhood, humanness and personhood. It's not just being human, it's also being person. It's not just being person, it's also about being human. Kaya human person. Okay, let's define. Human means etymologically ground, Adama. Kaya nga sa Genesis, ang kinuha si Adam, yung pangalan niya, yun din yung pinagkuhaan sa kanya. Clay, soil, ground, Adama. Now, dictionary definition, human is defined as relating to of characteristics of humans, meaning you have human features, human brain, human voice, human extremities, human face, human everything. Your genes also tells us that you are human, meaning biological. Noun, human is defined as a bipedal primate mammal or Homo sapiens. Yan. That's human. Now, what about person? Dalawang paggagalingan kong definition yan. In Greek, person means prosopon. Ano yung prosopon? Tingnan ninyo to. Prosopon means mask. Sa ancient Greek and Roman plays, the actors and actresses wear mask. And that's prosopon. During the ancient Greek times, wala pa silang concept of personhood na meron na tayo ngayon. It is the contribution of the medieval period kung bakit ang person from prosopon is translated into persona in Latin. Kasi nung ibig sabihin ng persona, persona means the unique, unrepeatable, the substantial equality and dignity of every member of the human species. Meron ka ng characteristics that is innate in you. Na ikaw lang ang meron. You are unique and you are unrepeatable. And the substantial equality na meron tayong lahat as person is that dignity. You are not just simply biological, that's being human, but you are also something sort of a spiritual, that is your personhood. Therefore, when we define the human person, it must be together, the totality of being existing, the totality of being here, the totality of existing, being a human, and also being a person. Palalalimin pa natin ito sa the human person as an embodied spirit kasi this is a metaphysical topic. Alright, so that's person and that's human defined. Hindi ko na ibabanggitin kasi nasa UCSP na natin yan. Now, the philosophy of the human person is the naturarum inquisitio, pero ang ating topic ay human person. What about the human person? The status of the human person in the universe. The purpose and meaning of the human person's life. Kaya nga ang topic natin, part 1, next week, the embodied spirit. After that, we will talk about our relationship with nature. Sa fourth quarter, we will talk about the human person as Homo socius, as a social animal, as well as a political animal. We will talk about the human person in the sense of justice, the human person and freedom, and lastly, the human person and death. Our actuality is death. The one big question sa death will be, of course, we will talk about purpose and meaning, but the one big question in death will be, can we experience death? Yan yung one big question doon. Yan yung pinaka kailangan nating alamin about death. Can we experience it? So those are the topics included in introduction to the philosophy of the human person.